Good afternoon and happy Monday. Retired general, but he's never retired, especially as a person who's done so many major things and continues to do so. General Nick Justice, how are you this afternoon?
Keith, I'm doing just fine. We were sitting over here in our little nest, just chatting about how beautiful North Carolina is.
Yeah. With no storms, you know, no other things going on that signify you're in the South. You're just having a grand Monday, huh?
That's all right. After flu shot Saturday, how about that?
That needle is so small, you shouldn't make it public that you were afraid. Ladies and gentlemen, it is truly my delight. It is when you meet people who you just find yourself gelling to, and it could be on any given weekend. You're on the phone more than an hour and a half, and you're laughing, and you're conjuring up realities and reflections. This is truly a friend that I call Major General Nick Justice. Nick is the founding executive director for an organization called Power America. Started in January of 2015. Currently, he is a senior advisor to the provost at North Carolina State University. Nick's been extremely active in establishing the newly formed institute sponsored by the Department of Energy, Power America, and that is the first institute led by a university. So what we have in this conversation, as Carol Thomas, the Director of Manufacturing, Hollings Manufacturing, joins us, and the CEO of Greenpoint Research, who I'm sure each and every one of you were wowed about because of what Robin Pate, the Chief Marketing Officer of GPR, shared with us today. And I just appreciate Nick for being on this call. Nick is also a retired U.S. Army after 42 years. I just gave away Nick, sorry. And he began his Army career as an enlisted soldier. He's worked his way all the way up to Major General. I give to you Nick Justice, my friend, advisor to our team. And thank you so much, Nick, for joining us this afternoon.
Keith, it's always fun. We're waiting. Part of our team is still struggling to get online. I tried that real early this morning, so I've been experienced and got on there. What we're going to chat about as they come online and join us was we wanted to talk about some of the opportunities and some of the ways to organize. In the Army, one of the big things is you train your soldiers to do their tasks and jobs, and then it's the officers above them that organize them into the fighting team that they are and lead that team to solve the problem. One of the great things about Carol Thomas is, and I got to meet her about 6 years ago when I started up the National Manufacturing Institute called Power America, which is about next generation wideband gap power electronics. One of the challenges that you'll find with that stuff is oftentimes in the agribusiness, we forget about that deep supply chain that we need to worry about. I met Carol over at the Department of Commerce and the National Institute of Standards. She ran the Manufacturing Extension Partnerships. And that right there is one of the key words that you ought to take away from this innovation session these next today and then tomorrow, is because innovation is really driven by finding the right people, putting them together in a team and organizing them to solve a problem. And so she had this wonderful organization that is basically a public-private partnership. She runs this partnership and has offices in Puerto Rico and all 50 states, where they work together with the local community, the state commerce, and the people in the states to build the economy of what they're doing. And it's just a tremendous opportunity. I think I met her on the phone call when we had put in a proposal, and she gave me, she recognized our team and gave us an award to have a partnership in her manufacturing extension program. And I was sitting at my conference table with her Southeast Regional Chief and 4 different states manufacturing extension partnership leaders. And it was just from there, it just continued to grow and have a tremendous opportunity. That's what she's doing right now today, and she's also filling another role over in the National Institute of Standards, where she's in an acting leadership role as our leadership turns over in this typical time of year in the federal government. And then David, a startup, and everybody goes, wow, what in the world is this guy into, and what an incredible new thing. And I was going to ask David to talk a little bit about the history of hemp and how ancient a product that is. Now, we were chatting when we were in the hangout room before this about cotton and how it disappeared from our agricultural program and came back after an absence of 20 years. Every colony that England planted around the world was required to grow hemp. It was that valuable a product for materials, for ropes, for sailing ships, for materials and fabrics, for all kinds of things in there. And it yields fibers twice of some of the products that we're doing right now. In a previous discussion, a young man was discussing about productivity and getting better yield out of things. This is a product that creates great yield and great opportunities. And so David is not going to talk about as much the farming as he is the downstream supply chain and opportunities to use biomass in a number of different fields for what we're working on. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to look at today and tomorrow and say, where's it going from here? So David, don't let me take your story away from you. I'll let you get your slides up and do that presentation for us in there. And I'm excited to get to meet you. David also is the South Florida Business and Wealth Up and Comer Award winner for 2020. So it's great to have that next generation that follows Keith, the ancient one here, and myself, who's running right up close to him, as you can tell by the Santa Claus whiskers.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak with everybody today. Thank you very much for the very warm welcome, Nick, and thank you for your service. I very much appreciate the dedication to something bigger than yourself. But
you're live.
Yeah, so my name is David Hasenauer. I'm the CEO of Greenpoint Research, and we are a hemp business, like you said, but we look at it much more multifaceted than that. We're really in biotechnology, material science, and pharmaceutical development. It has a lot of long-stretching uses. There's a saying that gets pushed around a lot that hemp has 25,000 products that can be made from it, and that might be an understatement. I feel very confident just about anything can be manufactured out of hemp. Going on, so give a little bit of background further about me and my company, specifically Greenpoint Research, some of the work we're doing in opportunity zones and why that matters, and how that specifically applies to U.S. manufacturing and different agribusiness initiatives. So about Greenpoint. But yeah, so I was in the Army myself. I did 4 years as a paratrooper at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then was getting out and trying to decide what I wanted to do. And I knew that the cannabis industry was newly legal industry and coming to the forefront of a lot of people's minds as I was transitioning out. Knew that, that there would be a huge amount of growth there and decided to get into it. I started mostly in political advocacy, and specifically I ran a constitutional amendment campaign in the state of Florida to actually bring medical marijuana to the state. We were successful in 2016, and we added the right to medical marijuana use to the Florida Constitution. It was voted successfully by an overwhelming margin. And then from there went on to do some additional lobbying and legal advocacy work where we supported a special carve-out for the Black Farmers Association and Pigford litigants to have access to medical marijuana licenses where they had been previously spurned by the state of Florida, and continued to do some consulting until ultimately decided I wanted to start my own business. Was sick of doing the consulting thing and wanted to build something myself with some of my friends. So while at Florida State College of Law, myself and two of my partners co-founded Greenpoint and have been building it ever since. So that's we can go to the next slide. It's a good time to segue into what Greenpoint is. So we're headquartered in Florida, and what we fashion ourselves as what we call biomass originators and processors. So there's three main segments in the hemp industry. You have what we call the cannabinoid segment, which is for all the CBD products, which you see everywhere, which is our principal line of business. Then we have fiber and grain are the others. Fiber is where you see all the industrial products, whether it's hempcrete, supercapacitors, 3D printing mediums, or a myriad of other products that they mostly come out of the fiber side. And then the grain is more of the cold pressed seed oil that's used for cooking, a la olive oil, or turned into protein powder and other food items. But to that end, basically we develop proprietary genetics, and we leverage those genetics against with experienced farmers who will grow them and produce them for us. And then we have high throughput capacity, first phase bulk processing to deliver essentially bulk commodities that can be used into manufacturing supply chains. You see a couple of the areas that we're targeting as we go forward: affordable medicine, renewable energy, and sustainable agriculture. We haven't quite gotten into the renewable energy segment yet, but we do look to break into it very soon. But the affordable medicine is very timely with COVID and all the different things we've seen as far as our supply chains going overseas, and the necessity to bring those back and have a lot of our medicines manufactured stateside in the event of these large pandemic events where things can obviously change rapidly. We can go to the next slide, and then that just gives a kind of a brief snapshot of all the different parties we're working with as well. So it says UF and FSU, but we're also with Florida International University, which is a USDA minority serving institution, and we've done some our very first project was with FAMU, Florida A&M. Ultimately fell apart because the legislature changed the law on us midstream, unfortunately. But we are very excited to continue doing work with lots of groups and research institutions as we continue to develop new opportunities and new intellectual property in the space. And then opportunity zones. I'm speaking to a very well-versed crowd here, so I don't want to get too in the weeds as far as what they are, but I would really like to, more specifically, I guess, relate it to what we're doing. So most of the ideas people have when discussing opportunity zones are really kind of ground up vertical development in more urban areas, transitioning neighborhoods, traditional commercial real estate. But that misses the bulk of the country. Most of the country isn't urban. There's a lot of flyover states and landmass that have opportunity zones with great logistical, agricultural, or otherwise assets embedded in them, and that's really where we see that next level of localized manufacturing and heavy growth as a company. It's going to be these rural manufacturing centers and rural innovation hubs, especially, again, I think as we see people in a hurry to move out of the city with the fallout of COVID and the threat of future pandemic. So I think it's even more pointed. But with that, as you're trying to, specifically for us, it's a great tool to attract investment. I mean, that's one of the things that most people don't look at is that there are qualified opportunities on businesses that are not just real property or assets, and that is principally what we are, and a tool that we've used to raise capital and to continue our business. I'll get more into the P3 side of it next, and more specifically about our case study, but we have acquired assets in an opportunity zone that will generate the bulk of our revenue in that location, so that we are a qualified investment. And so not only is it a tremendous tax planning tool, but on the other side of that, it's a tremendous capital raising and growth tool for companies and startups that are looking to do innovative things and might not otherwise have access to capital, but for the tremendous tax advantages that investing in them carries. So that's something that I think is a little different in how we've used opportunities as opposed to the overwhelming idea that it's just real estate development. So if we go to the public-private partnerships, that again, moving on to that slide, I think there is just a tremendous amount. I think so. I do have a background running a special tax district and community redevelopment agency prior to founding REIT, and there's all kinds of REITs that are available, from just at the city level, potentially getting some tax increments financed back from the investments that you make, all the way up to federal grants and other opportunities at that level. But specifically for us, again, in the way I approach it, from my experience both being on the quasi-governmental side of these, managing these relationships, to now at Greenpoint, where I'm in the private sector, is you want to look for, just like you're looking for good real estate buys, you're looking for good government partners too, like that you can kind of buy low, sell high. And I think that's kind of the inherent nature of what opportunity zones are. They're transitioning areas that have a great value proposition, especially given the current value of most of these areas compared to others. And you can come in and capture the equity you create by bringing your business there through some of these P3 vehicles, whether it's you negotiate a development agreement to get some of your tax increment financing back, or you are able to access local surtaxes, and then getting kind of down into the nitty gritty for us, we're able to secure cash incentives for job creation and economic development through what was essentially not really brownfield money, but part of an EPA settlement for old phosphorus mining claim. So it's one of those things you definitely have to do your homework and who the best government partner is. But there's a lot of these unique opportunities, like the phosphorus mining tax or EPA settlement, essentially, that we were able to tap into, that exist all over the country that most people don't know about. That that for ag energy, these innovative startups specifically, is a great source of essentially equity capital without having to go track down VCs or investors and other things. So, and they're great in that they also incentivize the community to buy into you. That is one of the key tenets of Greenpoint. We look to build successful communities that we operate in. It's an ardent component of what we do. Those people are going to be not only our employees and our partners and our friends, but they're also going to be our purchasers, and they're going to be our cheerleaders. and they're going to be, our helpers and, and everything. So it's absolutely vital to have that good local relationship. And if you're going to do it anyway, it makes sense to get it financial incentives for business in that scenario, especially in a nascent industry with a lot of different competitive forces. So we can move on to the next slide, the agribusiness manufacturing initiative. Again, getting into the different segments, 25,000 uses. There's kind of 2 points in the supply chain, whether it's fiber or cannabinoids. But in cannabinoids, it's the first phase process into what we call crude oil, just almost like petroleum. You see a million CBD products out there. All of them start with crude oil. And on the fiber side, you got a million products, and they all start with a decortication facility, which essentially separates the fiber from the woody herd. And so that's the biggest segment of growth. The CBD industry is maturing pretty rapidly just because the margins were significantly higher than other stuff in many other industries. But that next phase, as we go to a truly mature hemp industry in the U.S., will be the fiber biomass side. So, we never grew soy in the U.S. until hemp was made illegal. So we're extrapolating out, similar acreage based off of the different industrial capacities of the two plants, and soy is around 50 million acres in the U.S. annually. I fully expect that hemp will have, specifically fiber hemp, will have a similar base acreage in 7 to 10 years as the market matures and additional manufacturing infrastructure comes in line to support the growth of its use as a commercial crop. It's a superior crop to most. It solves many issues, around carbon sequestration and other things. We're working on a life cycle study with Florida State University to actually measure that carbon capture, like you've seen with like Indigo Ag and some of these other places have carbon exchanges and actual, commercial trading of carbon credits continues to pick up, especially in light of blockchain and the tokenization of things. We are looking at that. And the other thing is, again, talking about energy, most people forget that up until 1915, biomass was the predominant source of energy in the world. It wasn't until this petroleum revolution in the early part of the 19th century that we began to change from a biomass energy-based economy. So, and I think that's going to have to continue that trend as we help solar and these other renewables. There's always going to be, off-peak or on-peak demand, as well as the necessity for storage and other things. And hemp can be essentially pelletized and converted into clean coal, and that can be waste streams from existing products. So I do think it has major long-tail implications in the energy sector as well. But you've already seen, as far as the other manufacturing supply chains, they are already looking for bio-based composites and inputs. And that's, again, where hemp situates nicely, is it just produces more biomass in a more environmentally friendly way faster than just about every other crop. It's really phenomenal in that it grows in the Arctic Circle and at the equator. It can do all these things. It's just fascinating. And so that market will continue to grow. And I think from the hardening of medical supply chains, even, packaging, the note here said we had a toilet paper crisis, and that is, we need to manufacture these bulk ingredients stateside, and need to have economical sources for it and environmentally friendly sources for it. And there aren't a ton to date. They keep call wood renewable, but how renewable is 8-year-old pine trees, especially in light of hurricanes, derechas, and other natural disasters that can destroy them in a moment's notice, and then you're 8 years out from your demand again. So that's a good kind of macro view of what we do as a company, what the hemp industry is doing, and where opportunity zones and P3s have played into us and our growth, from a 3-person startup on my back porch to 25 plus employees in 2 countries and 3 states, and it's been an exciting ride, to say the least.
David, we have a question. This gentleman wanted to ask you something real quick. How are you addressing the prevention of COVID-19 propagation on your agricultural processes? It's a good question.
So within our agricultural processes, specifically, we kind of have 2 main agricultural processes right now. And one is we have extensive nursery operations. We have about 1 million square feet of greenhouse and shade house on a 30-acre campus that we operate in Fort Meade, Florida. And at that site, obviously kind of the standard CDC recommendations: masks, face coverings, additional hand washing stations, sanitization of all, clippers, trimmers, and tools and utensils that we use day to day within our operations, and a very thoughtful contact tracing program should any of our members get it. We did have 2 of our employees who did unfortunately come down with COVID. Both of them recovered quickly and healthily and are back at work as it sits today. And we were able to mitigate any further outbreak. As far as our outdoor farms, there's really limited interpersonal exposure on a 100-acre farm. You really have kind of one guy in a tractor, one person loading and doing things. Other than harvest time, there's not a whole lot of staff human interaction. Obviously, we take the same protocols, masks, sanitize the equipment when we're done with it, but it's significantly much less risk than you would see in an office scenario or something of that nature.
Okay, thanks a lot.
The next slide after the agribusiness manufacturing initiative, the what we do. This is something that myself and my co-founders put together. We're all big Jim Collins fans, the business guru out of Stanford, and we really like the concept of a flywheel. So this is what we call a flywheel. Is we essentially tried to develop a business model that no matter where you put your focus on, it should lead to results in other sectors of the business, and making sure that we try to build a momentum engine that is the platform of our business, so that we want to continually drive growth that's both environmentally and socially sustainable as we move forward. And that's the model. We built it around understanding that specifically the segment we play in is going to be a race to the bottom like any other agricultural products. We have good margins now comparatively, but ultimately at scale in a mature market, we'll be trading commodities, with fractions of a penny at our profit, which is what you see in peanuts and soy and corn and all these other things. So we know that's where we're going, and it's exactly why we've set up this flywheel to make sure that our revolutions and time on target to those economies of scale are met quickly. I think this is a seed to sale control, and this is one of the huge things that goes into specifically the complexity of our manufacturing operations. Everyone, you want control and inventory controls, but specifically in hemp is still cannabis sativa L. It's the same exact plant as marijuana, except it doesn't have THC and it's non-psychoactive. But for that, it's literally the same thing, And so with that comes a heightened level of accountability that each company has to take in regards to their operations. It's a little different than growing cotton, or okra or any of these other crops where, you mess it up, you don't turn into a drug trafficker. But my agricultural practices are a little off and my crop goes hot and I move a couple 100,000 pounds of what I think is hemp, but actually marijuana across state lines because the THC level rose a little too high. It comes with a whole bunch of long tail negative externalities that could really derail a business. So we have these heightened controls. We track everything from the mother stock that we use to create the plants that we use to create the seeds, to when we ship the seeds down, to when we put them in what are called seed liners, or agricultural liners that are delivered to the farmers. We track which field they go in. We know which field they come out of. We know how much biomass is dried, what is placed back to each of these points on the supply chain, and provide compliance tests and everything throughout that process. And in an effort to continually heighten our transparency and accountability in this, we have in-house developed an Ethereum-backed program we call HempBit that is a blockchain solution to handle all of this for us in-house. And specifically as we move through these processes, those kind of controls are necessary, especially when we start connecting with other manufacturers and product makers, especially the goal of attracting major like Fortune 500 product makers. We want to you're going to have that supply chain transparency and accountability, or they won't pick you up as a vendor. So it's not only is it necessary from a compliance standpoint, but to be for best practices just generally. I think it should almost be a standard practice for anything in the food supply chain, given some of the crazy stuff we consume today. So where I hope this could be something that is innovative and has applications outside the hemp industry. We definitely see it's a necessity within hemp and hemp manufacturing. So the next slide is just the supply chain of hemp. It's quick and easy. Those are essentially the points where we're operating in today. We do our own breeding in-house, develop our own genetics, and some really interesting stuff. We just got our first patent. Just like you have seedless watermelon, we have the patent for seedless cannabis, which is important because essentially once seeds are produced, then the cannabinoids and oil stop getting produced, and that cross-pollination and seeding out of plants is a big risk. So we're very happy about the IP we've developed around that. We do have, additionally, we have created best cultivation practices that allow for year-round planting and harvesting in Florida and southern climates and around the South and the Caribbean and Latin America. And then specifically in processing, we've been able to implement and adapt a large-scale former cottonseed extractor into hemp applications. So taking something that already existed in the agricultural space and adapting it to its most likely usage in hemp. And then the last is the manufacturing. We do mostly contract manufacturing at this point, but the real side of the manufacturing for us would really be in the product development, which we do have a clinical trial comparing the proprietary soft gel against ibuprofen that we are running through Florida State University. And that's kind of where we're interacting with each of those. With that's a very long-winded and in-depth explanation of what we do, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about not just our business, but how we are specifically working in opportunity zones and with public-private partnerships to grow and develop our company and intellectual property around our sector.
Thank you very much, Nick. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I am sorry, apologize for not being able to get on a little bit sooner. What I was trying to do is put out a fire here, as always, to make things a little bit more exciting. But anyway, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the National Institute of Standards and Technology and what we do at the Hollings Manufacturer Extension Program. Next slide, please, Melvin. Thanks. At NIST, which is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce, we have many different parts in our laboratories, as well as our extramural programs. The Manufacturing Exchange Partnership is one of those programs, but there's also Manufacturing USA Institute, which is one of the institutes that Nick Justice was heading up there. And also we have the Baldrige program, and we have the Technology Partnership Program. The larger and side of NIST that most people know about are, however, our laboratories. And together with the extramural and intramural parts of NIST, we help to promote U.S. innovation in industrial competitiveness. There are many different aspects of economic security and improving the quality of your life that you probably don't even realize. If you want to know exactly what time it is, the National Institute of Standards and Technology can tell you. You can put in time into any search engine, and it will come up with our atomic clock that is located in Boulder. And then we have a clock that is even more accurate, and it's accurate to within the life of the universe. And everybody always asks, why is it so accurate? And it's because it all has to do with money. And so you want to make sure that you have an accurate amount. And when you also go to the gas station to fill up your car, if you're still using a gas-fueled car, the amount of the gallon of gas is calibrated against what a gallon is per the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Next slide, Melvin. Thanks. And so, as I said, there are many different parts. We have two main campuses, one in Gaithersburg, Maryland, where I am, and in Boulder, Colorado. We've got 5 Nobel Prize winners there, and we do quite a bit in terms of collaboration with our associates as well as our federal employees. If you see across the bottom, the 3 extramural programs that I talked to you about, these are our main programs at NIST, and it's all about collaboration. Next slide, Melvin. And what we have done, because we're here to talk about what's going on in agribusiness, just since 2017, our national network of MEP centers, of which there are 51, as Nick said, 1 in Puerto Rico and 1 in all 50 states. Just since then, we've done quite a few agri-manufacturing projects, work with many companies to help them lean out their processes so that they can improve their profit margins. We've helped them with food safety training. We help with market diversification. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of that. Sustainability, plant, facility layout, workforce training. Sometimes they need people who are expert in new technology production, and we can help with that. New product development, lots of new products and implementation of new technology, such as energy saving technology, such as technology that includes 3D printing and hybrid electronic flexible materials, a lot of different things. And then, with the owners also need help in terms of executive coaching to help them with various different ways. So just since 2017, we have worked with more than 2,200 of these agri-manufacturing companies. But since 2017, we've worked with over 100,000 manufacturers across the country. Next slide, please. And here are a few of our examples. If you ever if you've never had the opportunity of going and visiting a onion ring company, you have to go if you have the opportunity. This is about one in Nebraska. I would say a medium-sized firm. It's incredible because for the first 15 minutes, there are tears in your eyes, no matter what you do. There are tears, you are bawling. And the interesting thing about it is the people who work in that plant every morning before they start work, they got to, get their eyes accustomed to it. So it's pretty interesting. But this particular plant, we really, they, make a lot of different kinds of things, but the help they received from us helped them to retain $800,000 in sales that they were about to lose, and then gave them $375,000 worth of process improvements that helped them to invest in the new energy efficient equipment. That also allowed them to retain 40 of their jobs. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but that was just one of the projects. And you saw we had nearly 5,000 projects with various agribusinesses. Next, please. And in Pennsylvania, we have helped helped a potato, I would say, products company with quite a bit. They were in trouble and needed to figure out how to get automation into their lines. They were running into trouble finding good quality staff who knew how to work the new production processes that they had put in place. And so what ended up happening is they had to get automation put in for their production lines that not only helped them out with the workforce, but it truly helped them to reduce the injuries and improve their production processes. And I just want to stop here for a second and talk about, because I know we're also talking about, what's going on in opportunity zones and what have you. And the MEP national network of centers across the country, we don't necessarily focus in, I would say, opportunity zones. However, because, we help manufacturers everywhere. However, even without focusing, just in looking at who we've helped and where we've helped them in 2018, we had nearly 3,100 unique clients in opportunity zones and helped them with over 5,000 projects. And those projects helped to generate or retain $6 billion, over $6 billion in new sales, helped them retain or add over 45,000 jobs. Now, these are manufacturing jobs, and this is in the opportunity zones across the country. And, saved those companies in terms of costs, nearly $750,000 in savings that those companies were able to realize. And so, as I say, we don't necessarily just focus in opportunity zones. However, a lot of the manufacturers in opportunities zones reach out to us, and we reach out to them and say, hey, look, do you need extra assistance, or, are you looking for new sales, or you looking for staff, or that kind of thing, and we're able to help them. Next slide, Melvin. And then I think I have, this is our final example. This is some of the best whole and chocolate milk you'll ever drink in New York. Trinity Valley is one of those family businesses that are just fabulous. These folks were really looking to continue the business, and they needed more sales in order, to get things going and to keep it going. And so we're able to connect them to Wegmans. Some of you may or may not know Wegmans supermarket chain. They're fabulous. And they love to work with local farmers, local food processors to sell their products in the stores. And so we made the connection for them and, help them with the agreement. And just doing this, nearly doubling the amount of bottling production that they're able to do, and help them to do it even quicker, so that they're able to not only get this new sale, but to really take advantage of the opportunity. And so they've gotten some incredible brand recognition from all of this, and they're looking really to expand and to do more. I had on the opening slide, I had also put the White House HBCU conference that was just held, I think maybe a little less than a month ago. And I wanted to put that up there to remind folks that what we try to do, next slide, please, Melvin, is to work with our HBCUs out there to help them figure out what parts of manufacturing to get into. And it's no longer dark, dirty, and dangerous, but it's an exciting opportunity to be in manufacturing. And speaking of exciting, we provide national, support for various different areas in advanced manufacturing. We also, in our Oregon MEP Industry 4.0, we help work with them on that. And cybersecurity is another big area that we help with, and demonstration facilities. A lot of smaller manufacturers are, nervous about reaching out and getting into some new types of technology. So we'll have demonstration centers to show them how they can incorporate in that. Next slide, please. And I'm sorry, I got those a little bit out of whack here, but this is what I was talking about in terms of engaging the HBCUs so that we can build our strength in manufacturing. And it's interesting that we have a lot of ties with land-grant universities, and we have a couple of our sub-recipient centers are HBCUs, but we don't have that kind of connection that we'd like to have, so that we can help bring more diversity, equity, and inclusion into manufacturing. And this is an area that we really are looking to see what, how we can grow in the community in this way. Next slide, please. And so thank you for listening, and apologize again for being a little bit late. But I think if there's any questions, you're welcome to ask them right now. Thank you.
So let me moderate the questions. And I'd like to start off, while we're getting some questions popping in, with a question for each of you to address. Here I've got, a leader of commerce in the federal government, and I've got a paratrooper who got out and started a business. Now that is a spectrum right there in itself, right? But give it to a paratrooper to always be able to accomplish miracles. What are the 2 or 3 things that you find create the synergy for success? Carol, from your perspective, I'll let you go ahead and start off with that. From the federal agency, what are the 2 or 3 things you're always looking to put together for a partnership?
Well, I have a what I call the partnership formula, and it's called the 3 C's: cash, credit, and control. What I have found throughout the years, in terms of especially being leading public-private partnerships, is that the funding. Where are you getting the resources from? What can you do to bring something to the table? And if you have something to bring to the table, this is where we start. And credit, who gets the bragging rights? Who can say, yeah, I'm the one that made this happen? Believe it or not, if you don't get that, agreed to in the early on, you can get twisted around yourself when it comes to getting, kudos or recognition for what you're doing. And control. Who actually is in charge of this? And when I say in charge, I mean not necessarily, the boss of it, but who is accountable for this partnership. And so I look to those kinds of things to make sure those are in place. And once we have those in place, we can run and we can do a bunch of different things and be very creative in a good partnership.
So David, take a shot at the same question. And I thought about that when I read about your vision out on one of your sites where you talked about localization. And I just read into that you're looking to partner with people because it's organization and it moves the masses. Over to you.
Yeah. So localization. I mean, it's got to be the way. I mean, we've seen the idea of a globalized economy. It's just left people behind. There's communities that are hurting and people that need. I mean, there's a reason the manufacturing jobs bolstered the economy. And then getting into a little bit of my military background, I mean, the localization of manufacturing is national security at this point. If you've outsourced all your critical resources to other people, think of especially this, like just for example, 98% of all ibuprofen active ingredients are manufactured in China. We have 98%. That's an astonishing amount. If we have a similar incidents to COVID or something of the other, we're high and by. It's just everything has to be local. I guess I'm tipping my hat a little bit to how I feel about things. Right? It needs to be there's a level of intentionality with local actors, and you get to actually know the people you're working with. You get to actually know the government you're working with to a greater degree. Not that you don't get to know the federal government, but it is typically harder to access, especially for small businesses that don't have the budget to go to DC and interact with the different agencies and other groups. So and it all ends up from there. The localization, I just can't get back to what. Even getting into climate change and other things. There's no way you can tell me it's better to ship a Connex from China or Asia of goods environmentally than it is to just make them right here and go right to the stores with them. So it just plays into a lot of the prescient issues of our time. And it's something where we need to get back to it, especially if we plan on keeping people engaged in this new age economy as we continue to trend to digitalization.
I'd address a second question to both of you. One of the things I always love about the Manufacturing Extension Partnership is it seemed to be modeled very similar to our land grant universities. And this is one asset that our historic Black colleges participate fully in. We have lots of those universities that started out as land grant universities. And so there is a model of partnership there with local and state government and business and energy. So Carol, if you would address some of your partnerships where you've been engaged with universities and the companies and corporations you're working with and associations that are local.
Yeah, well, a lot of our MEP centers are within universities. I would say, take for example, in Indiana, our MEP center is actually the Purdue MEP. And it's right in Purdue. And what's interesting is it's also connected to Rolls-Royce and Pratt and Whitney and other industries. So what you have is the MEP Center is sort of the conduit for bringing together the university, the small companies, the large companies, all together, and then the state economic development group together, so that, for instance, there are times when the state provides through the Department of Labor funds for workforce training. And so the MEP will work with a smaller company and also get assistance from Purdue to have graduate students who are also business owners to come in and work with those small companies and connect them with the training that maybe some of their employees need, or provide them connections with the larger companies that Purdue works with. Our MEP Center in Utah is connected. It's within the University of Utah. And we'll do a lot of the same thing. We've just launched a study with the Association for Public Land Grant Universities to look at how the best practices around the country of getting universities and getting industry, is particularly the smaller folks, and local governments together to see what are the best practices around the country? How can we put, amass all of those best practices so that we can replicate that across the country? And this is it just got started. We're hoping to wrap up the study towards the end of next year. But this study specifically knows it's going to reach out to many different MEP centers that have pretty high success rates to bring all of this together. And I think that's the way we can share and leverage what we've learned on how to bring these various different groups together.
Thank you. David, want to take a shot at the partnerships and particularly how the state, local, and the universities play in those roles?
Absolutely. So for me, most of my interaction will have been with the universities. So I think the MEP here is what it's called Florida Makes, and I think it's in Orlando, and I don't believe that one is attached to a university specifically. But in Florida, though, we have Enterprise Florida, which is the economic development group at the state level. And, getting into the enterprise training and the business development and these things is a huge portion of what they do. And a lot of that really flows down from the universities. These are, Florida's made a huge investment in engineering schools at all of their public universities in an effort to spur innovation. And then, specifically with us, that's really how we've leveraged mostly everything we've had to do. So, up until last year, and really April 27th of this year in Florida, if you were going to grow hemp, it had to be in a public-private partnership with the university. You had to develop what was called a hemp pilot project to even participate in the industry. So for us, that's been commonplace. We couldn't do anything without universities up until 6 months ago. So it wasn't even an option for us. Either you worked with these groups in their offices of commercialization, or you didn't get to participate at all. And so it's been interesting in that it provides challenges. But the other thing it's been great is that in a new industry, it's given us access to the best and brightest, and given us really by regulatory force an opportunity where we've had to be innovative and gotten to access the best and brightest around this. So it's definitely unique to our industry where we haven't had the same level of access to a lot of these things. Like, I mean, I was still getting kicked out of banks a year ago for growing cannabis, so it's been such a drastic shift in perception by industry, the government, and all around from the nature of where we're coming from. But would have been completely impossible without the interaction with universities and the educational freedom that they enjoy. So that's really for us is what it's kind of about that interaction.
All right. So is there I haven't seen a lot of questions pop up on our chat over here. You got questions coming into you, Melvin?
Yes, I actually a comment from Joyce Matthews with Fairfax County Schools to Carol. Carol, I love the story about visiting the onion ring plant. Do you have any video from that visit? Our students will be fascinated by how the onions affect the workers. I am always looking for experiences like this that spark interest and questions for our students. Again, another opportunity to speak with the people at the plant would be awesome.
That is wonderful. Actually, the MEP centers around the country are happy to bring the students to visit plants and to do things like that. That is the best part of my job, to get to go in to see all of these different plants around the country. The Nebraska MEP, I'd be happy to give you their connection. They are, in fact, this month, October 2nd, the first Friday of October is always Manufacturing Day. And throughout the month, there's a celebration of manufacturing all over the country. There's all kinds of different kinds of tours. This year, because of COVID, we're doing a lot of things, of course, virtually. And I'm not sure if the Nebraska MEP, I think that one might be virtual if they're doing it this year, but I'm sure if you are interested and you have students that are interested, I can give you the connection to the Nebraska MEP director, and you can come up with a trip. I mean, literally, there's all kinds of manufacturers that you can visit, and the MEP Center happy to make arrangements, with the business owners, because they like to have the kids come through so they could see it, so they can think about manufacturing as a career, not just a job, but a career, because they are really good, well-paying jobs. I mean, I have a manufacturer in Indianapolis that has a 24/7 automatic 365-day automated floor where they make 40 million parts for syringes every month with 0 defects. And so they're using cobots, and they have sensors on the machines. And guess who's running these plants? They have only 9 people, by the way, 9 people working in these plants. And the owner goes to the local high school and sees somebody who might be interested, offers them an internship. They come to work and they can use their cell phones because they're all connected. And the average age of these people that are working in this place are 25, and they're making $125,000 a year. So, I mean, if you're interested in a good job, think about manufacturing. And I'm glad you like the onion ring story. I was definitely up there in one of my top favorites, although it's a little difficult to get over that when you first come in there. But please, if you're an educator, talk to your students about manufacturing. You have no idea how exciting it is right now.
Well, Carol, thank you so much. And David, thank you so much for being on there. I couldn't find two more exciting people about manufacturing. It's not a stodgy old business, that's for certain. And thank you for your energy. Thank you for your just engaging personalities. If we could got started with you on the front line right off the bat, we wouldn't have started so slow. So thank you so much. Keith, over to you.
Yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, and David, thank you so much. I am going to close this out, but not without saying so much of a thank you for this panel and rounding out the importance of understanding the Manufacturing USA National Security Connection.